Ed DeGarris.
Most gracious Heavenly Father, we come to you tonight to thank you because we realize that everything we have is because of your grace. We ask now for your wisdom to be bestowed upon us, that with the decisions we make will be the best for the city and pleasing to you. In our precious name we pray. Amen.
Roll call.
Councilman DeGarris.
Here.
Councilwoman Abshir.
Here.
Councilman Tinsley.
Here.
Councilman Johnson.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Russian.
Here.
Mayor Pearson.
Here.
We do have a quorum.
Disclosure of interest. Any member of the City Council may disclose any possible conflict of interest dealing with either any item on the printed agenda or with any matter discussed at a previous meeting. Seeing none, citizens' input. Each person in the audience may take this opportunity to address the City Council on any matter which is not on the printed agenda. You can come up. Come up to the podium and state your name and address for the record. It's kind of in a weird location.
You need to move that probably.
I'll take care of it.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, we didn't move over.
Okay.
Is you're good enough?
That's good. Thank you.
Just state your name and address for the record.
Hi, Linda Adams, 313 South 11th Street. I wanted to say a rather brief but a nice little thank you to a couple of council people. I left about mid-November to visit with my daughter in North Carolina, and I've only just got back this month. While I was gone, some of my relatives went over to my house, and then I got a phone call that said, oh, there's little white flags all over your yard. I don't know what they're doing, but they look like they're going to dig under your front porch. It didn't sound likely to me, but I called Councilman Tinsley, and he went out to my house to see what was going on in my yard and called me back, and Councilman Branham made phone calls on my behalf, and by Monday morning, that following Monday morning, that situation was settled. And so I want to thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Nothing more than
you very much. We appreciate that, Ms. Adams. We don't get a lot of those lately, so that's nice.
It was actually the gas company in John was very helpful, very attentive, came on over.
Right. Okay, approval of minutes. The city clerk will present the minutes of the city council meetings held December 1st, December 15th, and December 29, 2014 to the city council for their approval. And we also have the city clerk's report. I guess we just need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the consent agenda or the minutes?
Should be more.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Do you need anything further for that? Okay. Moving forward to the workshop required items. Item A, the City Council will discuss a request from the Planning and Zoning Commission to approve a conditional use permit to operate a drive-through window for a temporary modular bank business at 2951 North Westwood Boulevard. The applicant is First Midwest Bank, 704 North Westwood Boulevard. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. As you stated, the applicant is First Midwest Bank. They presently have a location in Kroger's store, and due to the fact that they're going to lose that location soon, they are asking for a drive-through window for a temporary location at 2951 North Westwood. At this time, the land is vacant. It is zoned C2 General Commercial. Pardon me. All drive-through windows are conditional use permit requests in the city of Poplar Bluff. The surrounding land use to the north, south, east, and west is all C2 General Commercial and has been since it was zoned in 1972. Comprehensive plan calls for commercial in this location, in this vicinity. The site is mostly level, slopes slightly to the southeast. It was formerly a gas station some years ago, but it's been vacant for some years. Access is from Northwest Wood on existing drives. There won't be any new drives or entry points onto the highway there. Police and fire protection are available, with fire station number 2 being the first responder. The First Midwest Bank has a branch inside Kroger store at 2770 Northwest Wood. In February of 2015, Kroger will begin undergoing renovations that will require relocation of the bank branch. They plan to build a permanent branch at 3055 Northwest Wood, but this project will not be completed until late fall of 2015 or early 2016. Site plan has been submitted for this location. It went through planning and zoning with no derogatory comments or concerns. And once we determined exactly where it was, it's basically across the highway from Break Time, which is the first gas station on the north end of town when you come in.
Thank you, Mr. Avery.
And the planning and zoning and the staff do recommend approval of this request with the following stipulation. Permit is granted to the owner for this purpose only, and any other business locating on this site with needing a conditional use would have to reapply. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Any council have any comments or questions?
Make a motion, we move this on to the voting session.
Second.
Motion and a second to move item A to the voting session to be held tonight. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item B, the City Council will review a paving contract with Schultz Surveying and Engineering relative to 11th Street and Thomas Street in the city of Poplar Bluff. Mr. Kaplan, is there someone here to address this?
From Schultz Engineering?
Yeah.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, I'm Tim Southerts with Schultz Surveying and Engineering. I understand that this, an ordinance to pursue this project was passed back in October, and before you is the contract to pursue our services. It's a standard LPA contract with MoDOT. We'll be using a portion of the funds through the STP program and to pave Thomas Street and South 11th.
When will this begin if we approve?
I'm not going to put any promises on MoDOT or the federal government. So, I mean, our work at this point, upon your approval of the contract, it will go before MoDOT, upon their approval, before we can commence work. So,
As soon as possible.
as soon as possible, as soon as the wheels of the bureaucracy will allow us.
Okay.
There's no holdup on our end.
There's a
let's put it
lot of
that way.
people very interested in seeing 11th Street, South 11th Street paved, I know for sure. And I'm sure Thomas Street too. Does anyone have any questions for him?
If I can add a couple things on Madam Mayor. The question would come up as to why aren't we competitively bidding the actual service through other engineering firms? Well, questions come up, and the one thing that I would educate anyone in the public about is we have several qualified firms in the city limits. And when you go to MoDOT's website and you go to the LPA site that Mr. Southers referred to, there are several agencies that are in there and approved to be able to handle certain services. Either it be structural, either it be roads. You just pick a category and it'll show you who's on that list. And in there, obviously, on mostly every list, you got Smith and Company, you've got Horner and Schifrin, and you got Schultz. And so I feel like, well, we got those three. They're here in town. We'll just rotate through them. That way, and that's completely permissible by MoDOT. And so that way we're spreading the business out, and that way we're not showing any favoritism towards any one or two firms. And so that's been my approach, is to try to spread out the wealth, so to speak. And so what you're going to see every time there's a MoDOT project, I'm just going to go to the next one in line. And then you'll see a rotation through these 3 firms, and, you know, again, that's been my intent since coming here back in August.
What about Mathis and Company? Are they not on the list?
They are not for the categories in which I've been doing projects yet, so I have not seen their name on the list.
Okay, well, I think it's good that you're rotating the companies.
If they end up on the list, we will rotate on them as well.
Make a motion, we move item B to the voting session.
Be held
Second.
on- Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Motion is second to move item B to the voting session to be held on February 2nd. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item C, the City Council will review a proposed ordinance for mobile food trucks to do business within the city limits of the City of Poplar Bluff.
Madam Mayor, we were approached by an individual proprietor that had an interest in providing food service on a mobile, either a truck or a trailer. And right now, we have a prohibition against that type of activity here in the city limits. But I wanted to open it up, if we could, safely, because I think it does have its place in the city of Poplar Bluff. And so myself, several of the city staff, including, we invited our local officials from the Public Health Department at Butler County to attend the meeting, very productive meeting. And we felt that we could follow the other communities that are already doing this. And so we sampled several of those communities through our connections through MML to grab what we felt was the most, ordinance that we liked, the one that would fit our community, being Poplar Bluff. And so we wanted to kind of open this up for discussion amongst the council, to see what your feelings were about the topic. Staff is, again, we're here to serve whatever the will of the council is, but we wanted to show you that this is something that is normal within the state of Missouri, and actually quite prevalent. So we just, again, wanted to just open it up for any questions or concerns at this point.
Will there be restrictions where they can be at, or is there ordinance going to tell exactly where they can be
Well,
set
they have
up
to
at?
have suitable services available to them. They're not going to be able to just pop up a tent just anywhere. So one, it has to be zoned, obviously, because obviously Dennis is going to have a fit if they start popping up in areas where they're not zoned to be. So it's got to be zoned appropriately for commercial activity. 2, they got to have appropriate services available to them for sanitation purposes. Now, does that mean they have to hook up to city water and sewer? No, but obviously they're going to have to, if they have, let's say, water that's in, let's say, in a holding tank and let's say a septic tank for sewage services, they're still going to have to do a dump somewhere with that wastewater, and so obviously they can take it to us. We do that type of service for not just anyone in the city, but anyone that brings it to us. So we had a representative there from Municipal Utilities as well to advise them as to what we would do in that case. And obviously the Public Health Department was there to advise them as to what they would do when it comes to expectations, criteria, inspections, all that. So, one, to answer your question, it's got to be obviously zoned appropriately. 2, there has to be suitable parking that's got to be under consideration. 3, it's got to be safe for any patron that comes into our community. We do not want any bout of any foodborne illness here in this city. We want to make sure that whatever food we are serving is going to be safe to anyone that's either living or visiting our community.
Now, will they have a criteria similar to an actual established restaurant? Or
No different.
No different. So that will all follow as far as hygiene, cleanliness, and all
Yeah,
that?
they're going to have to be, made through all those criteria. They'll be inspected regularly and at random probably, but no different.
They'll have to have city license.
Dennis, city license, yes. Yep.
I think the main concern, the old ordinance, the temporary vendors would come in and they weren't paying sales tax. This is the main thing. They'd come in and compete with our local vendors and
Yeah, we want to make sure it's a
stay
level
out
playing
without
field.
collecting taxes from them.
Right.
This is more tailored to have a permanent
presence.
presence and ongoing business.
Yeah, I mean, it's not to say that we, again, we're trying to prohibiting, let's say, we'll call it a taco truck or whatever. But again, the key is, like you said, we want to create a platform to where anyone can be competitive, but not give anyone a competitive advantage against who's already here either. That's the best way for me to answer that. But again, we have such a strict ordinance right now that does not allow this activity. We just think it's time to loosen it up as long as the council is comfortable with that.
It's worked very well in other communities.
Does anyone want to move this to the voting session on February 2nd?
I'll make a motion, we move it to the voting session on February 2nd.
A second.
Motion and a second to move item B or item C to the voting session on February 2nd. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. The City Council will review the conveyance of a 60-foot public right-of-way extending Oak Hill Boulevard to Meadowbrook subdivision of approximate 2.07 acres. Is there anyone here to discuss this? Item D.
Middlebrook. Yeah. Is that one? It's just yours, Dennis, isn't it? Sorry.
Mr. Avery.
Thank you. This is property between Oak Hill and South Avondale. There is an existing roadway that is not a public street. It's a utility sewer easement, and it is traveled on a regular basis. And we looked at maybe making improvements in that area, and to do that we needed a defined right-of-way, and that's what this consists of. Questions?
Sounds like basic cleanup so we can get some work done.
Right, and Mr. Sutton, Robert Sutton did donate this to the city. We didn't make any financial arrangements for it. We are assuming the rights to it and the responsibility for it.
Okay, thank you. Council have any comments or questions?
I make a motion to move it to the voting session.
Second.
Motion is second to move item D to the voting session, which will be held on February 2nd. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item E, the City Council will review a recommendation from the Municipal Utilities Advisory Board regarding a revised settlement agreement between the City of Poplar Bluff and the Missouri Department of Natural Resources for the wastewater treatment plant. Mr. Bach?
Madam Mayor, members of the council, I believe in your packet you were given a revised settlement agreement. Previous agreement was approved on August 9th of 2012. The changes there is the revised paragraph 2, which and the deletion of paragraph 3. Addition of the city's liability release for E. coli that was extended to a 7-year schedule of compliance. This was discussed at the last advisory board meeting and would recommend the approval of this. If there's any questions?
What are you wanting us to do tonight?
Well, it's workshop tonight. It'd be voted on the next one. So if there's any questions.
It's just a revisement.
Is this our only option, or
What do you mean?
is this, I don't know, is this the only road on the path to take?
Well, we own a wastewater treatment plant,
See?
so we have to take care of the waste the city generates.
And there's no other option.
Well, there's more options that cost more money, but the settlement agreement is not the equipment that's at the plant. It's stating we will come into compliance.
It's given us 10 years to come into compliance.
Yeah. That's 7 years.
Is there a timeline to start on that? I know there's a timeline to finish that. Is there a timeline to start on it?
Well, the finish is triggered off when it's all signed.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay. So if it's 7 years, it's 7 years from when it's signed.
correct.
So there's no timeline when it starts, when it's 7 years from when it's signed.
Right. The completion is triggered by when
Yes,
it's all signed.
Yes, sir. Okay. Got it. Okay. Any further discussion? I make a motion we move it to the voting session.
Second.
Motion and a second to move item E to the voting session, which will be held on February 2nd. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item F, the City Council will review an ordinance authorizing the mayor of the City of Poplar Bluff, Missouri, to enter into a memorandum of agreement between the City of Poplar Bluff and the International Association of Firefighters, Local 2543, for its members who are employees of the Poplar Bluff Fire Department. Is there someone here to talk about this issue, Mr. Kaplan?
Yeah, I'd be happy to, Madam Mayor. Ever since I started, Mark Massingham started negotiations with the firefighter union in regards to coming to a agreement as to a new contract. The old contract expired on October 31st of 2013. Once I became employed with the city, Mr. Massingham transitioned the negotiations over to myself. I've worked with this union on and off over this last several months to come to terms for a new agreement. And under the tentative agreement that was approved and ratified by the union with a majority vote, an overwhelming majority vote, the following was agreed to, was one, a pay increase to all the firefighters of 5%. That 5% will be retroactive back to the date of the contract that expired, which is October 31st of 2013, as I previously stated. Also, there would be a wage reopener in year 2016. Now, what that means is that's the only thing we can discuss between parties as we open up negotiations. So they will on their end, obviously, no doubtedly attempt to negotiate a higher wage at that point. And obviously, the city will do our part of the negotiations to make sure we do what's best financially for the city. But it can go either way, yeah, up or down. So it's not just always going up, just so you know. Everyone tells you that a wage reopener, does that always mean it's an increase? No, it doesn't. Of course, that's what the union wants, but that's not what they always get. Also, in concession for getting the increase in wages, was for them to concede on a medical plan that's less than the benefits they're currently receiving. Right now, we have a traditional 90-10 plan, so meaning 10% of that cost is shared by the individual or the family member, and obviously 90% is shared by the plan, being the city, because we're self-insured. I negotiated them down to an 85-15 plan, which is more in line, closer in line with what's in the normal standard industry, not just in municipalities, but in private businesses. So that will obviously save the city money, and obviously it gets us in the right direction where I think our benefit plan needs to be. Also with that, we also gave them a contract through 2017, so that way we don't have to keep going back to the negotiating table every year, since we're behind right now. I gave all that information over to legal counsel to prepare an tentative agreement for action tonight. I'll be happy to answer any questions or concerns that you may have at this time.
My concern is a 5% increase. I have the utmost respect for the firemen. They do a great job. You know, just, I guess I think it was in January 14, we did the loggers increase, which was virtually a 6% increase. The other unions that was looking at contracts before realized what a benefit that would be for them for the rest of their life, and just took like a 1% or 0.5% on each end of it to, I guess, you know, to help the city out on such a financial statement for the insurance. And that 5%, you know, we're low in the budget already. I don't see where that's going to come from. That concerns me. The only other part I saw in there was like 1,400 hours accumulated sick time. I know they get, right now the ordinance, main part of the ordinance is 900 hours for city employees. And then when they retire, get 40% of that. That's another, you know, substantial amount of money at the end of their service. You know, we appreciate their service and respect them for it. And then the retroactive back all the way to 13, that's a pretty good chunk of money coming out of the budget at once.
Yep.
I mean, they had a lot of time to negotiate some of that and settle it before that. And then I worry about, is that going to set up a precedence with the other unions just to hold off to get what they want, and then knowing they're going to get that back pay?
Well, yeah, I think those are very good concerns and questions. I don't want to obviously share too much of my strategy moving forward with negotiating with the unions. But I can tell you that I think based on my analysis of looking at what your current firefighters are making in comparison to surrounding fire departments, we're obviously very low. I want to make sure that we're maintaining and recruiting new firefighters as much as we can. And so the 5%, and when you calculate that against the concession they gave on the medical plan, we are coming, in my opinion, way financially ahead. And so you have to balance current, I always talk about current cost versus future cost. A lot of municipalities make a mistake of putting too much of their eggs in the future cost basket. And so here, we want to make sure we're balancing a current need with the salary with a future cost, which is the medical plan. And so if I can get that future cost down exponentially, we're saving a lot more bang for the buck on the medical end and the benefits than giving up in a salary increase that's long overdue. It's not that I agree with you. I wish I could keep everyone's pay at 0%, but that's just not the world we live in. Everyone wants to see, obviously, their rate of pay go up when cost of living goes up. It's natural. On top of that, you have a classification of employees here across the broad spectrum of the city that's underpaid. Obviously with the exception of yours truly. And so I want to do what I can to correct that, and I think the more we can save on those future expenses by getting concessions like this, the more we can put that in the pockets of the individual employees to fit their current needs.
I mean, I agree that every employee, deserves a raise. Just the 5% when the others conceded, quite a bit for that. And on the 85, I don't know if we could, I'd like to see more figures on how, yours is coming out showing on that. I didn't see those in the packet.
So for a 10%, let's say we did a 10% increase on the salaries, you're looking at around $75,000. Obviously, half of that would be, would be the increase in the expense if this is approved tonight. One or two buyouts that I got from the fire department has already paid for that. We had employees that already elected to take the lump sum payment in lieu of the benefit. That has been a very successful program for the city. I was hoping for 10. I got close to 20 employees that are participating in that buyout program. That's lowering our expenses, not just on the expense of what we pay for the premium. It's the claims. Every month our review. These insurance claims, and it's daunting as to they keep going up and up and up. And so what we are giving up on the front end is already been paid for in savings that we already gained through buyouts. But no, I'd be happy to provide you with any analysis you need. But again, if you just take the budget that was already approved, again, and you add in that expense, we back out where you have buyouts that can offset this. I'm comfortable with it.
Mr. Kaplan, just for the knowledge of the public, the firefighters currently are making around, what, $13 an hour?
$13.57-ish.
And that will raise their pay to, sorry.
Let's see here. Let me find it for you.
If you think about it, I've had talks with several of the firefighters. They've reached out to me, and I was concerned because, if they can't make it or make enough to support their families when they're risking their lives doing what they do, they could very well go to another place closer that pays more than what we pay. So we risk losing well-trained firefighters, and then we have to think about what it costs if we have to provide training for new ones to come in and so forth. So I like that he's already got it paid for, basically. figure that out?
So right now, the current pay scale is if you start at 1194, after 6 months you're at 1253, and after 1 year you go to 1316 an hour. And then year one, 1381, and year two, 1450 is what they currently make. Now I think, let me make sure if it shows the increases in here. Bear with me. Not this version. Let me find the version that has them side by side. Maybe this is- Sorry, bear with me, Madam Mayor. I can calculate 5% against that, but there's a might be the increased rate right here. Let's see if it's effective 5%. Let me see if I can find the old contract.
That's okay. I just
Sorry.
wanted to show the public what they're making right now, and I think a lot of the public would agree that that's probably lower than what you would see in some other communities.
Yeah, they're not making a lot to run into a fire.
So we don't want to compete in that way.
Let's see if this one has it. I'll find it.
Does anyone else have any comments or questions on that issue?
Like I said, I was just thinking, 5% is a substantial raise when we just gave, 6 for the retirement and everything.
Yeah, that's understandable.
And I understand what Mr. Captain said with the buyouts, they may have taken that buyout even if we just offered them 2%, for the insurance, because I'm sure they're going to save money or looking at saving money on buying insurance on themselves through that way. So they wouldn't have done that. And we've got some great firemen. I noticed in the contract there was incentives for educational purposes and different levels and things, which is good. That also encourages the young firemen to get more training and be better equipped to protect the city and their fellow firemen when they're doing their job.
Right.
Okay. Does anyone want to make a motion or anything?
I make a motion, take it to voting session.
Second.
Motion and a second to move item F to the voting session. It will be held tonight. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
I got
Motion
it.
carries.
Sorry, Madam Mayor, I got the information now. So under their current pay schedule, it goes from 1137 to 1193 to 1253 to 1317 to 1384. And so with the 5% increase, you go to those numbers that I gave previously, which would be the 1194 to 1253 to 1316 to 1381 to 1450. Did I say that too fast? You want me to repeat that?
No, I got it.
No,
it's fine.
thank you.
Sorry if it's...
You can just,
Just kind of illustrates where, where they're going.
Yeah, so what's in the agreement is what they're going to after the 5%. So that's the right figure. So the prior is what I just read off.
Sorry, I caught you off guard with that question.
My computer's for it. Look it
Okay.
up.
All right, so we will move on to item G. The City Council will review bids received for ancillary equipment relative to the technology equipment purchased by the city. Mr. Kaplan.
Yeah, thanks, Madam Mayor. This is part of the original $5 million capital improvement purchase that was already approved by the council in October. So these ancillary items are items that I don't see any benefit normally of bidding out, like doing an RFP for. So what I did is I went out to several providers to get pricing for these items, because there's several resellers for Microsoft, and so we wanted to compare them against each other. We did that, and so also with that is the equipment to install the MDTs in the police cars, and so with that, once we accumulated that data, we brought that information to the provider who's currently installing everything and say, hey, look, can you match the low price? They said, yes, they can. They provided the credit memo in that effect. And so obviously, since they're already putting in the equipment, they can configure the servers with the software, which would be an ideal situation. And so I'm asking for consideration of awarding the ancillary equipment to ISI, our current vendor.
I'll make a motion, we move item G to the voting session.
I'll second.
Okay. Motion and second to move item G to the voting session, which will be held on February 2nd. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item H, the City Council will review a request from the Planning and Inspections Department to adopt the 2012 International Building Codes. Mr. Avery?
Madam Mayor, members of the council, thank you. This is something that I've been working on for some months. Actually, Mr. Kaplan and I had a conversation on this probably about last October, and myself and the city building inspectors have been looking at and reviewing the 2012 International Building Code documents, and we've done research on it, familiarized ourselves with it, and we do get a lot of inquiries from out-of-town firms that would prefer to use the more updated codes. One, they tend to be more cost-effective because they use current technology, and they also allow them to develop plans using the most modern information and programming models that they can use, which is beneficial to them. I also have information about what some of the other towns in the region are using as far as the years that they're operating under the International Building Code. If anyone is interested in that, I believe you might have some of that information. But I've got information on what Cape Girardeau, West Plains, Jackson, Farmington, Sykeston, Jonesboro, Arkansas, Festus, Missouri, and Kennet, Missouri utilize as far as the International Building Code. These documents are very painful to read. The books are about that thick. We don't really like to go through the whole thing, but any question that anybody has, we would be glad to, respond to. You did get some information about what some of the major changes were between the 2006 International Building Code and the 2012. A couple of years ago, we had attempted to move to the 2006 International Building Code, and it didn't happen. So now we're about 15 years behind on our code, which is not really good when you're having the growth and the activity that we're having.
Wow. I do have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I know you've read through that giant book, but
Yes.
is this the most recent?
There will be a new one that comes out in 2015. Usually the people that are in the trades, like architectural, engineering and all that, they are leery of the first time the book comes out because no matter how much time you spend and how many professionals you have involved, there are things that get in there that create issues and are difficult to deal with down the line. The 2009 code was something that we might have went to, but it was prohibitively restrictive about how it dealt with earthquake zones and design requirements in this part of the United States on earthquake. Now, I do have a letter from an architect that worked on the Poplar Bluff Regional Medical Center. Have information from a local engineer. So we're trying to get the best document because we don't want to change every 3 years. Because you've become familiar with the book and the information, and then about the time you've learned it, they hand you a new one. So that's difficult.
Mr. Avery, what will
Yes.
the impact to current business owners and homeowners be in the transition phase from which code are we on right now?
2000.
The 2000 to the 2012 codes.
There are going to be things that are going to be beneficial to business owners and commercial developers of residential properties. It won't really affect the general homeowner very much because we have other codes that we adhere to for plumbing, electrical, heating and ventilation and all that. But this International Building Code is a lot of time deals with commercial activity and institutional activity. We have companies that come to us that ask us, can we not use the 2000 because it's so outdated? Can we go to a newer version? And we say, yes, if you tell us what you're going to design to, we'll inspect based upon that, because that exceeds the requirements that we have on the books, and we allow that.
Well, what I'm asking is, in the transition phase, there is going to be a transition phase. We're not just going to go from 2000 to 2012, right?
No, we will. We will.
Okay, because, you know, we have to think about business owners who may incur expenses for switching over to this.
Well, that
Or-
won't affect anyone
Okay.
or any project that's presently underway. If someone is coming to my office and begin a process, they can design to the 2000 because that's what we have allowed up to this point. So we wouldn't automatically say like Southern Bank that's putting in that modular building. All right, we wouldn't say, oh, well, now that we're on 2012, you've got to jump through extra hoops. We would not do that. And we wouldn't do that to anyone else that had activity ongoing.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
yes.
Okay. Any other? I mean, I hope I answered.
So
the
current
question.
businesses wouldn't have to then go forward and do all these
No.
changes? And same
No.
with homeowners, right?
Correct, they would not.
But new ones would?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Thank you.
Make the motion to move this item to the voting session.
Second.
Motion and a second to move item H to the voting session, which will be held on February 2nd. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item I, the City Council will review the financing of the 9/11 Dispatch Center. Mr. Kaplan?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. At the previous meeting, we talked about and actually in the council approved the order of equipment for expanding our current IT network and environment, and also expanding the equipment to accommodate a consolidated 911 center. Now, in moving forward with reimbursing ourselves, obviously, for that capital expenditure, and also providing funding for our capital improvement plan. You remember, we have a 5-year capital improvement plan that was a part of our budget for fiscal 15. I'm asking the council to consider, obviously, for us going out for a loan, given the interest rates are low, and to get us capital funding to be able to fund those activities for the next 3 years, and obviously in reimbursing ourselves for this project, which was already approved by the council. Now, the way obviously that capital improvement plan works is it set in stone as to everything that's in years 1 through 3 are definitely funded? No, it's just, I'm just showing you that, hey, look, here's the amount of money we need to be able to do it. Now, let's say you have a different priority. We can just plug something else in there as long as it doesn't obviously exceed the dollars that we're asking for to fund this program. That's where, you know, in my opinion, this city has been very weak. We have not aggressively and proactively been replacing deteriorating, depreciated assets. It's taking some time to get caught up. It's been the subject of countless discussions that I've had in open forum, either with individuals or things that I've seen in the paper, or things that I've talked about in social media. And I just want to make it abundantly clear, because I guess I'm failing to deliver the point, is this half-cent sales tax money cannot be used for any other purpose. Cannot be. You can't use it for anything other than capital expenditures. And what's your capitalization threshold? $1,500. So anything above that threshold is the only thing that qualifies. Now, historically, has the city always been using that fund for things that don't qualify? They have, but we've put a stop to that. But I can't use that half-cent sales tax, which is right around $2 million collected each year, to pay my salary, or to pay for Mark Massingham's salary, or to pay for any of the firefighters', let's say, salary increase. You know, I've heard it more and more how people believe that I'm bankrupting this city because I am just simply leveraging this $2 million a year that we're going to get in perpetuity. It's just, to me, it's very short-sighted, and one that's uneducated, because if you just look at the math, just the flat math, the money is there. We're just stretching it and leveraging it with cheap interest rates so we can fund these capital projects that haven't been done in many, many years.
Well, I think it's important people understand that you cannot pay for operating expenses of the Coliseum with that money.
No.
You can't pay operating expenses on anything. The only thing you can use it for is capital and then infrastructure.
That's it. And again, for somehow that we're somehow bankrupting the city, look at it this way. The city approved a $5 million loan for items recently. Then we approved another $2 million with the 911 center. And then we had the snow plows for the street department. We had the salt bin. So let's call it around $7.5 million. Okay, you get $2 million a year collected, okay? So what's your return on investment on 7.5 worth of capital assets? 3.5 years, okay? That's not horrible. And on top of that, some of these items that you invested in, like the VDI environment, et cetera, we're going to be able to sell that environment to anyone that wants us to host that environment for them. I did this in Michigan very successfully. We're going to turn IT from expense into an enterprise activity. And so it's just, again, I'm trying to have patience with defending this argument, but it's a very simple one. This is not anything different than the best practices of any city, county in the United States. Any.
Well, and I agree. I've witnessed how this is done, and I think one of the problems is we get generalities thrown out there, and you start comparing, you cross-compare apples and oranges. And that's not how it is. The 910 funds were used for the capital improvement and not for operating. And if people could just understand that issue alone, that would help a lot.
Well, and also these banks would not loan this city money if the city did not have this revenue stream, period. They look and they scrutinize our financial statements no differently than any bond investor would.
Well, yes, sir.
And so it's like, don't take it to me. Ask your local banks, why are they lending this money? It's not because, well, they'll just do X, Y, or Z. They know the money's there.
Well, it's not the same thing, but when a college gets an endowment from their alumni, they can accumulate that endowment, and that's guaranteed money on the death of their alumni.
Yep.
They can actually borrow against that.
Yep.
And what we're doing is borrowing against an established
Future collections.
for future collections of money.
You got it.
Yep.
Okay, going back to the 911 center. Okay, you said that it's going to fund it for 3 years. What about after 3 years? How will we guarantee that it keeps going? What if it fails?
Well, that's just a
How will it be
capital
financed?
expenditure. So what we're doing is we're taking the money that we're currently already investing in our dispatch center, and we're going to invest those resources into this combination center. Actually, with us consolidating with the county, which right now may or may not happen in the near future. But again, we're in discussions with them. I'm very encouraged with what I'm hearing from the county. We're going to pool our resources together to make the center successful. The money's there. We're already spending this on 2 dispatch centers, one in the city, one in the county, and they're right across the street from one another. And so it's the continuity of those operating funds that are already there, plus having operational savings by combining them, and then obviously moving forward with grant money that we're hoping to secure for the activities. We got plenty of money to run the center over and beyond. This is just a capital expenditure. This is what's paying for the capital expenditure. The operational piece is already in your budget. We're not gonna spend a dollar more than
And the
that.
grant money is going to go to those people who pool the resources above anybody else.
We've already.
So we're setting ourselves at the top of the list of
state
that.
has already put us on notice. They said that that's their top priority.
Yep.
Is they want to see consolidation of 911 centers in the state of Missouri. We've heard this from our legislation representatives.
Yes.
And so, hey, they're kind of giving us a little heads up here. Hey, the people that consolidate are the ones that are going to get the money, and we just want to put ourselves in a very competitive advantage to everyone else that's going to bicker over it. I don't think that's what we're doing here. We had a very good discussion with the sheriff. I think the sheriff is closely and very carefully analyzing the situation, and I'm very encouraged with what I've heard from him. And the county. The county's been great partners. I don't think that's ever been in question, and I think this is inevitably will happen when the stars start aligning. So we're going to start doing the center the solo by ourselves this year, and hopefully the county will join us next year.
And Mr. Sean also talked about us being a regional. We can sell these services to
Oh, yeah.
small
Yeah.
communities around us, and that will help fund it too.
Well, that's the greater concern that I have as your city manager is, even though obviously my first priority is to the city of Poplar Bluff, we have a greater responsibility to the area at large. And right now, if there was a major event that happened here in Poplar Bluff, I want to make sure not only will there be a continuity of services and for the city, we have a duty to make sure that the residents outside the city limits and within the county area, the 8-county area we're in, actually 13-county area when it comes to the FEMA zone, that they're taken care of. Because if the bigger earthquake hits again, I know everyone thinks it's a myth. It's not a myth, folks. When it hits, it will hit someday. Hopefully it's not in our lifetime, but if it is, we got to be ready for it. Guys, anything east of Dexter is pretty much gone. It's just not going to be there. I mean, it's not going to be wiped off the face of the earth, but you're going to probably think it is after you see a big one hit. And where's that operational center going to be? It's going to be right here in Poplar Bluff. It's not because Heath wants it here. It's because that's already been identified as the perfect spot to set up shop. It's going to be on Three Rivers Community College campus, where we're going to house people that need the temporary housing. That's where we're going to feed them, or it's where we're going to provide medical care for them. And that's why we think it's best to put the 911 center there, because it's already been identified as that regional area, that regional zone of response. So I'm excited about this project. I'm excited about obviously all the capital improvement projects, because you don't have an opportunity every year here to always make this huge amount of capital expenditures up front that the city's had to do. But it just shows you that the need is just dire. I mean, again, I'm going to repeat again. We don't have city voicemail. If anyone calls, wants to leave a message for me, unless they get a hold of a human being, that's the only way they can leave a message for me, unless they call my cell phone. It's just simple communication, folks, that we're not doing very well. On top of that, we need to rebuild our website. If anyone goes onto our website, what do you really get from our website if you were a visitor? What do you gain? What information are you really gaining? You're not gaining a whole lot. We want to change that to where we're marketing ourselves better. We're also providing kind of a virtual employee for people to be able to get information when they want it. And then it'll also, to help, let's say Donna, for example, at the DER, instead of her having to file individual sunshine requests, I want her to just go out to the website and just get it. You know, it's just, there it is. All the information's there. And if there's anything obviously specific over and beyond that, then she can obviously file a more detailed request in with the clerk's office. But we're going to be doing a lot of things differently. I know that different is sometimes scary, but you know, this isn't my prescribed method. This is the best practices of how cities and counties are run throughout this country. If you don't believe me, go to the ICMA.org, go to GFOA.org. They'll show you the best practices on how to run these cities, and I'm following it by the book. And I am sorry that individuals that have different agendas just don't understand that, and nor do they care to. I think I've given up trying to educate individuals that simply do not want to be educated. And I don't want you to think that I'm being blockheaded here. I try to be patient, and I always have an open door policy with anyone who wants to talk to me. But if they're going to continue to spill out the same rhetoric that they're reading every day in a day-to-day paper that has absolutely no validation or credibility, then I don't have anything to say to that individual. I'm sorry, I just don't. So I'm sorry if I kind of grandstanded a little bit here, Madam Mayor, but I'd be happy to answer any question regarding capital improvements for the 911 center at this time.
I've talked to some of the dispatchers, and they're all for it. The reason being is, if we get them all together, there's always a question that one may not be able to answer, but there'll be someone there to help them. So the ones I've talked to are for it.
Well, on top of that, you have 2 911 numbers. If you call the wrong number, and let's say someone had a heart attack, they're already down, seconds count, and if you call the wrong one, oh, sorry, you reached the county, I got to transfer you to the city. That might have just cost someone their lives.
That's what he's talking about.
We just cannot afford the seconds. Seconds are precious when we're saving someone's life.
Correct.
Speaking about the capital money, I misspoke when we were talking about the, on the budget on the half cent. You know, the money, I said, you know, we were spending all of it, wasn't putting any back. And I was reminded that we were putting some back. We had close to $2 million towards the
1.4.
building of a city hall in the future.
Yeah,
I
no.
want to clear that up, that I was mistaken on that.
Yeah.
And on this, you know, I'm all for the 9/11 Center. I've spoke up for it, you know, in the meeting and in some other meetings with Mr. Shawn and Chief Whiteley and stuff. And my only concern was the money for it. And I was told that that was in part of our $5 million information deal that we'd already passed.
That in addition to what was passed on the 5th of January. I'm sorry, the December 29th.
Yeah.
Those two items were all the equipment we're going to need for that 911 center.
Yeah. But, you know, like I say, this was it 2.8 million. I realize, you know, we can pay it back.
We can.
We can. Right now, like, you know, I brought up before, you know, some of the other capital items for like the street department and different departments and things that, you know, they're having to do without, like, you know, you brought up the street sweeper and things.
That's in
You know,
year
that's-
two.
Yeah, that's, you know, pretty tight on some of that things to get things done for our citizen.
Right,
I
but that's
just-
why I'm asking you to fund the 3-year plan, so, because Jeremy, I know he's a little nervous on that street sweeper, because it's, what, 10 years old, right, Jeremy? Well, if we fund 3 years and it does go kaput, boom, I got the money, so go buy one, and get it going. And we might just do that anyways, so we don't have to have the thing down, because the one thing I've realized since I've been here, I don't mean to cut you off, Councilman DeGaris, but I understand the importance of that street sweeper to this community is huge. So that's why I'm asking for the 3-year funding, so that way that we're getting ourselves a little ahead of the game here, and instead of being reactive to things breaking down, we're being proactive and replacing before they break down, and on top of that, putting ourselves on a annual maintenance schedule for replacement of these assets. That's what I'm trying to get created here. And I know it looks like, and it's accurate, we're spending X amount of dollars, a lot more than what we had before, but it's going to taper off, and then when we start, instead of waiting until an asset fully depreciates, we need to sell it while it still has value. So when we sell those assets, we can bring it right back into our motor pool fund to be able to continue to buy new assets moving forward. That's how a real motor pool program works. But here, we got to, you know, again, first infuse the cash in, get ourselves on a rotation schedule, and then it'll taper off over time, and then again, dispose of the asset before it gets to a full depreciation cycle. That's what we're doing right now, is we're waiting until things fully depreciate. Right now, we try to sell that street, so we're going to get pennies on the dollar. And so I want to get more money for that versus pennies. And just like the police cars, we're used to using those things up until the tires fall off, and then we give them off to other departments. I don't want to do that anymore either, because we have other police departments outside of the city limits that, you know, 1 or 2 cars is all they need, but they can't afford new cars, but they can't afford used cars. Well, we want to tap into that market, get revenue back and reimburse ourselves, but also use that as a continual revenue stream to be able to buy new cars ourselves. So, sorry. Any other questions?
No. I like it, you know, if something I'm saying comes up on your mind to explain something to it, you know, I appreciate that, before it slips off the other side. You know, it does on me sometimes.
Yes, sir.
Make a motion, we move item I to the voting session.
Second.
Motion and second to move item I to the voting session, which will be held tonight. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Moving forward to the action required items. Bill number 7778, the City Council will take action on an ordinance amending ordinance number 5674, allowing for the assessment of an additional municipal court cost, said cost to be used for providing operating expenses for Haven House. Sorry about that.
Move for first reading of bill number 7778.
Second.
Motion and second for first reading of bill number 7778. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Smith?
An ordinance of the City of Poplar Bluff, Missouri, amending City Ordinance Number 5674, providing for the assessment of additional court costs for Haven House, a shelter for victims of domestic violence.
Move for second reading, bill number 7778.
Second.
Motion and second for second reading of Bill number 7778. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Smith?
An ordinance of the City of Poplar Bluff, Missouri, amending City Ordinance Number 5674, providing for the assessment of additional court costs for Haven House, a shelter for victims of domestic violence.
Move for adoption.
Second.
Motion and second for adoption of Bill number 7778. Do we have any comments or questions? Roll call?
Councilman DeGaris.
Yes.
Councilwoman Abshir.
Yes.
Councilman Tinsley.
Yes.
Councilman Johnson.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Russian.
Yes.
Mayor Pearson.
Yes.
We have 6 yes votes.
Okay. Moving on to Bill number 7779, the City Council will take action on an ordinance amending ordinance number 6441 relative to a lead ban in public and private drinking water plumbing.
Move for first reading of Bill number 7779.
Second.
Motion and second for first reading of Bill number 7779. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Smith?
An ordinance of the City of Poplar Bluff, Missouri, amending City Ordinance 6441, adopting the International Building Code, International Plumbing Code, and International Fire Code for the City of Poplar Bluff.
Move for second reading.
Second.
Are we on the right one?
You got the red one.
Yes, that's my understanding. Is that
7779?
Wasn't that double B?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you're on the, you're on the,
Purple, it looks like.
that's the one that,
Yeah, it doesn't.
Hmm?
Rory?
It doesn't.
Okay.
Yeah, 'cause
Is that amends the code?
I think it amends the code.
Oh,
so-
yeah, here it is. Yep.
I'm sorry, to further explain to the council, it amends those 3 codes dealing with lead bans, the sections.
Thank you.
Sorry for the clarity. So, as I pointed reading, is that correct? I just read the first reading, okay.
Yes. Okay.
Move for second reading.
Second.
Second.
Motion and second for second reading of Bill number 7779. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Smith?
An ordinance of the City of Poplar Bluff, Missouri, amending City Ordinance 6441, adopting the International Building Code, International Plumbing Code, and International Fire Code for the City of Poplar Bluff.
Move for adoption.
Second.
Motion is second for adoption of Bill number 7779. Do we have any comments or questions? Roll call?
Councilwoman Abshir.
Yes.
Councilman Tinsley.
Yes.
Councilman Johnson.
Yes.
Councilman DeGaris.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Russian.
Yes.
Mayor Pearson.
Yes.
We have 6 yes votes.
Okay. Bill number 7780, the City Council will take action on an ordinance approving a conditional use permit to operate a drive-through window for a temporary modular bank business at 2951 North Westwood Boulevard.
Move for first reading, 7780.
Second.
Motion and second for first reading of Bill number 7780. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Smith?
An ordinance of the City of Poplar Bluff, Missouri, granting First Midwest Bank a conditional use permit in a C2 General Commercial District to construct a drive-through window for a temporary modular building for a banking business at 2951 North Westwood Boulevard, Poplar Bluff.
Move for second reading of bill number 7780.
Second.
Motion and second for second reading of Bill number 7780. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Smith?
An ordinance of the City of Poplar Bluff, Missouri, granting First Midwest Bank a conditional use permit in a C2 General Commercial District to construct a drive-through window for a temporary modular building for a banking business at 2951 North Westwood Boulevard, Poplar Bluff.
Move for adoption.
Second.
Motion and second for adoption of Bill number 7780. Any comments or questions? Roll call?
Councilman Tinsley.
Yes.
Councilman Johnson.
Yes.
Councilman DeGaris.
Yes.
Councilwoman Abshir.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Russian.
Yes.
Mayor Pearson.
Yes.
We have 6 yes votes.
Okay. Bill number 7781, the City Council will take action on an ordinance authorizing the mayor of the City of Poplar Bluff, Missouri to execute an amendment to the memorandum of agreement between the City of Poplar Bluff and the International Association of Firefighters Local 2543 for its members who are employees of the Poplar Bluff Fire Department.
Move for first reading.
Second.
Motion and a second for first reading of bill number 7781. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Smith?
An ordinance of the City of Poplar Bluff, Missouri, authorizing the mayor to execute an amendment to the memorandum of agreement between the city and the International Association of Firefighters, Local 2543, for its members who are employees of the Poplar Bluff Fire Department.
Move for second reading.
Second.
Motion and a second for second reading of bill number 7781. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Smith?
An ordinance of the City of Poplar Bluff, Missouri, authorizing the mayor to execute an amendment to the memorandum of agreement between the city and the International Association of Firefighters, Local 2543, for its members who are employees of the Poplar Bluff Fire Department.
Move for adoption. 7781.
Second.
Motion and a second for adoption of bill number 7781. Do we have any comments or questions?
One comment I have, Madam Mayor, is if this is approved by the council tonight, I do intend to also extend the increase, the 5% increase to the one administrative assistant that supports the fire department. So, and that person's not covered under the agreement, but I just want to make that full disclosure to the council that I intend to give it to that administrative assistant as well.
My only comment, Ms. Mayor, would be that I think the 5%, I don't know if we can afford it. You know, we're already in hole in our budget, and I don't think we can afford to give that to the rest of the employees in the next, period of time. I wish we could give it to all of them.
Right.
Every time it came up. Because they're all very important to us. They're the biggest asset we have.
I think he already explained, though, that it's basically been paid for through other means. So I don't really know that we're losing anything or putting our budget any further behind. Does anyone else have any comments or questions?
I think it's good that the fire department or the members of the fireman union have come together and worked on a way that, that benefits all parties.
Okay. Roll call.
Councilman Johnson?
Yes.
Councilman DeGaris?
No.
Councilwoman Abshir?
No.
Councilman Tinsley?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Russian?
Yes.
Mayor Pearson?
Yes.
We have 4 yes votes.
Okay. Resolution number 1810, the City Council will take action on a resolution determining the intent of the City of Poplar Bluff, Missouri to reimburse itself for certain capital expenditures.
Move for the first reading.
Second.
Motion is second for first reading of resolution number 1810. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
A resolution of the City of Poplar Bluff, Missouri, determining the intent of the city to reimburse itself for certain capital expenditures.
Move for adoption of resolution number 1810.
Second.
Motion is second for adoption of resolution number 1810. Do we have any comments or questions? Roll call.
Councilman DeGaris?
No.
Councilwoman Abshir?
No.
Councilman Tinsley?
Yes.
Councilman Johnson?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Russian?
Yes.
Mayor Pearson?
Yes.
We have 4 yes votes.
Okay. Item EE, the City Council of the City of Poplar Bluff will meet in a closed meeting in which they will discuss such matters which are exempted under the Open Meetings Law, Section 610.021.1, RSMO litigation, 610.021.2, RSMO real estate, and Section 610.021.3, RSMO personnel.
Make a motion that we adjourn after the city manager's report.
Second.
Motion is second to adjourn after the City Manager's report. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Really, today's city manager report, just wanted to, talk about my first 5 months being here. And I recently put a post on social media, being Facebook, to kind of express kind of my feedback for the community to consider during my first 5 months of being here. Again, I understand change is hard in any community you come to. Here, I was anticipating, obviously, somewhat of a lukewarm welcome because of the circumstances leading to my hire. But with that, I wanted to just convey some, some frustration, not whining, but frustration that I have, that we have a contingent of individuals in this city is just content on any discourse whatsoever when it comes to the progression or positive direction of the city. And I just want to let you guys know as my employers that I've just had about enough as I can take of that type of feedback. It's not that I can't handle criticism. I handle that plenty of times in any job I've ever been at. Here it's just downright nasty tactics that are meant to try to discredit me, destroy my career, my reputation. To me, it's the best way for me to put it is you got individuals that are not trained to be a city manager. They didn't go to school to be a city manager. They don't have the experience of being a city manager, but they think they know how to run a city. I'm here to tell you, it's not that I don't have respect for everyone's individual opinions, but I don't tell people how to do their jobs. I don't tell the police department, for example, I don't go to Danny Whiteley and say, I think you should have really looked at this investigation a little differently. You know why? Because I'm not a CLIA certified officer. I don't go to try to adjust someone because they have a back problem. That's what chiropractors or physical therapists are for. It's a little joke there. And so I don't go to a banker. I don't go to Mr. Funky who's in the back row there and tell him how to do his job as a banker or as an accountant. Because I'm not qualified to do that. I have some insights here and there on certain things, but I don't do that. I don't go to a preacher and tell him how to do his job about preaching to the choir and how to do the teachings of Jesus Christ and whatever else they do. I don't do that because you know what? I didn't go to school to learn how to do that. But I got a lot of people that sure know how to run the city except for me for some reason. And I'm here to tell you they don't. They don't have a clue. And I'm here to tell you as your city manager that there's a lot of work to be done. And the last thing we need to be doing is bickering over petty politics. If we're going to continue this, let's do it out in the open. So I'm going to issue a challenge to anyone at the DAR, including the editor there, the owners, to anyone who used to be a council member, to anyone in the public. Why don't we invite a professor of public administration from Missouri State University to come to the Coliseum? Let's have an open forum. Why don't they ask questions of myself and anyone else that thinks they know public administration better than I do? And let's see who has the best answers to those questions. So let's have a friendly debate, shall we? Why don't we find out who has the best concepts and best practices in their mind and through experiences and through education of how to do these things? Or can we turn back to the old guard that thinks they know how to do it? We've seen where they have led this city. And so I haven't even been given a fair chance to show where I can lead you. After 5 months, I've had a constant bludgeoning of daily criticism. And it doesn't come from just people that will identify themselves. It comes from people that anonymously will talk and speak out, or they'll just be in the shadows. Well, I'm saying, well, stop being in the shadows. Why don't you come to this little debate we're going to have, and let's find out who really has the facts, who has the best practices, who truly has the skills to run this city. And so I'll leave it at that, because otherwise, if they don't want to take me up on my challenge, I think honestly they should shut up. So I don't mean to be rude about it, but I think that I've had enough of trying to be cordial and professional when they show nothing but vindictiveness and hate. I've never seen such hateful people in my life. I hope I never do again. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
We're adjourned.
Motion to adjourn.
We did. After his report, we're adjourned.
Already adjourned.
All right.
So let me show you this. Here's the list from